Seabirds used to rule the seas. Now extinction is looming as humans occupy more and more space for marine industry, energy development, fishery, aquaculture and shipping. A new tool can now show us the impact of human activity and climate change on seabirds. The MARCIS-tool can be used by government, industry and organizations for sustainable marine spatial planning. More than 60% of all seabirds are already gone. So, if we can adjust our activities, we can help seabirds survive for future generations.
Thank you everyone for coming to this MARCIS launch event. We're very excited to share this tool with you today. So we have 3 speakers today. One of them, the first one will be Tone Kristin Reiertsen. She's the project leader of MARCIS, and she's going to lead us through the MARCIS project, or present an overview of the project and what we have achieved. Then we're going to go over to Nina Dehnhart, who's been central in producing the tool, basically. She's going to lead us through the tool, how it's built up, and give some examples for how you will be able to use it. Then we have Arne Myrvold from Equinor, who will give a user's perspective to the MARCIS tool. And we will the presentations themselves will be available on the website afterwards, and to those that weren't able to join us today. So without further ado, we should start with Tone, who will give this overview, as I just said. So please, Tone, go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Finally, we can say that we are able to launch a tool that we have been working really hard. A lot of people have been working really hard with. A tool that is enabling us to assess the cumulative impacts on seabirds. And today I'll give an overview, a brief overview of why we need this tool and what we have achieved so far. I will not go very much in detail of methods and stuff, because I think now papers are coming out, people can read more about it, and we have been, these details have been provided quite a lot during the project. So just to make sure, so the project have been running from 2021 until today, and now the funding is ending, so we've been funded mainly by the Research Council of Norway, but also from in-kind from several of their partners. So we are sort of at the end of that era at the moment. So I'll start by saying something about why do we need a tool like the MARCIS tool. So globally, the arrows are pointing downwards for many seabird species. They are considered the most threatened group of vertebrates, it was published in a recent book about conservation of marine birds that came out in 2023. And a global survey 10 years ago of the world's monitored seabird populations showed that there was a 70% decline since the 1950s. This is serious, and this is dramatic on a global scale. In Norway, the conservation status of seabirds are severe. We have a 60 to 80% decline in many of these species. And considering that we have 25% of Europe's seabirds within our national borders, we have a huge responsibility to make sure that we manage these birds in a good way, in a sustainable way. So monitoring of breeding populations and projection analysis also shows that several of these breeding populations are moving towards extinction within decades if we don't do anything. An example of this is the kittiwakes, and the picture you can see in the background here is Bleikøya. I took this picture in July 2015 when I entered this island to count the birds. And we discovered that there were no kittiwakes there. They had all gone or become extinct. And in the 1990s, there were 6,000 breeding pairs in this island. And even if we knew that there had been decline the years before I came to this island, we didn't expect that it would go so fast. And this is the situation for many kittiwake cliffs along our coast: Runde, Sklinna, Vedøya and Røst, Hjelmsøya and Syltefjord. They are all extinct already. And more seem to follow. And an analysis on a publication that came in 2014 showed that there is a high risk that all kittiwake colonies along the Norwegian coast will become extinct within the next 40 years. So this is a picture of how severe it already is, and that we already have known this situation and how serious it is for at least 1 decade, maybe even longer. At the same time, as seabirds are declining and becoming more and more threatened, the pressure on the ocean area and resources are increasing. We need food, we need energy, and we take a lot of space. So the question of how to ensure good management and conservation is very important, but not easy. Because the seabirds are complex creatures for management. First of all, their life history strategy, when they are being long-lived, means that they can and will meet many threats throughout their lives. And even if this long-lived phenomenon is an adaptation to a dynamic marine environment, changes in their ability to survive can lead to rapid declines. And impacts on breeding performance takes a long time before it's detected on the population trends, since they have this immature life stage. This means that there will be lagged years before we can even detect these declines. Or the impact on breeding success. And also seabirds are migratory birds that uses large areas of the seas, sometimes not even within our national borders, and they only come to land when they need to breed. Yet it is in the breeding numbers and in the colonies where we detect the decline or what's happening and the impacts. Also, they are the diverse group of birds. They are flyers, they are divers, they are pelagic, they are coastal. So impacts may differ quite a lot between the different species. And also new knowledge shows that breeding populations' annual distribution show that even within populations or between populations, you have differences. They differ in where they are distributed all the year around, implying that populations are potentially impacted differently by the same stressor. This makes it very, very complex to manage it and also to provide good strategies and also to provide all the knowledge that's needed. Therefore, there is a need to link different types of information to get population effects at different levels and make this information available in a user-friendly way. So we need to link seabirds' annual distribution at both sea and in the breeding area, and the effects of different stressors related to how they move and how vulnerable they are to what they meet out at sea. To annual monitoring data, we need to link this to annual monitoring data of demography and population sizes in the breeding colonies. And this needs to be made available in a user-friendly and an accessible way. And this is exactly what we have done by developing the MARCIS-tool. And to our knowledge, this has not been done in this extent and with so much details before. So this is sort of a new thing. Data from 2 large monitoring programs have been used as a basis for a large part of the MARCIS-tool, more specifically for the seabird part of the MARCIS-tool. CPOP is Norway's national monitoring program of seabird populations. It provides long-term time series of monitoring data like annual rates of adult survival and reproduction and also population sizes. The monitoring is conducted along the coast of Norway and on Svalbard on multiple species. SeaTrack is another long-term program that tracks year-round distribution of seabirds with GLS tracking devices that are mounted on the birds. And this data provides both year-round distribution and also activity data during the non-breeding season. And this knowledge enables us to link what is happening out at sea to the specific breeding population where the bird belongs to. These 2 programs are therefore linked, and they are often because the activities are conducted in the same colony where CPOP's monitoring is happening. But sea track also covers multiple species and colonies across the North Atlantic. These data has been used in the framework developed by Halpern, which you all have heard quite a lot about during this project period, to enable cumulative impact assessment of multiple stressors on seabirds. So just to get everyone in line with this, just once more, one final time, the formula for the cumulative impact by Halpern, here you will have a spatially explicit impact, a point or a coordinate or an area of the pressure where you can see the cumulative impact of the pressures. And the pressures that we have been focusing on in MARCIS is listed here as offshore wind farm, fishery, climate, shipping, and oil rigs. And how these pressures is impacting an environmental component, which in this case is the seabird distribution, which is data that we gain from SeaTrack, times an impact weight or a sensitivity weight, the mu, which is in this project has been quantified and not only been using expert opinions. And this has been quantified through the development of analytical frameworks. The data here, as I already mentioned, is used to quantify this impact weight comes from the time series collected in CPOP and also activity data from GLS loggers in SeaTrack. And these are then used in either demographic modeling or in IBMs to quantify the impact. We have also further developed the Halpern by using data that varies in time annually, like demographic data and the survival and reproduction, and also the stressors data that comes from climate and fishery harvest data. And this enabled us to incorporate potential effects from both climate and also fishery harvest competition. But to make sure that we reach the goal of developing this tool and manage all the data management and the modeling, which is really time consuming and has been kind of all the hard work that's put into this, we had to limit ourselves to so first of all, we had to limit the area of where we developed this to what we call the MARCIS study area, which mainly is the Norwegian economic zone, but also the North Sea. We also had to limit a little bit the scenarios for the stressor data. And also we found that it was really hard to get different scenarios for all. So for the shipping and the oil rigs, we actually had to use expert opinion. But for the fishery harvest data and the bycatch data for climate and offshore wind farm, and we have been using quantification methods. We also focused only on 6 pelagic seabird species, and we also have used migratory birds that migrate across the North Sea. So to go into what we sort of have achieved, but first of all, I want to say a little bit more about the migratory birds. In MARCIS, the migratory birds migrating across ocean areas has been a focus that we also wanted to include in the tool. So it's not only a seabird tool. And migratory birds may migrate every spring and autumn in large numbers across, for example, the North Sea, and are at risk of impacts from offshore wind farms. At the same time, there are future plans of developing more offshore wind farms in areas, for example, outside of Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands, which are considered key migration corridors. To be able to assess how migratory birds are impacted, and a life cycle impact analysis has been conducted using ringing and ring observation data to calculate the loss of species richness. The outputs from the work of the life cycle impact assessment and the migratory birds is that we now have impact maps on migratory birds incorporated into the MARCIS tool. There is also a published article led by one of our postdocs, Emma Critchley, that is published in the Journal of Applied Ecology. And from this knowledge, we have developed a MARCIS knowledge brief that you may read if you click on if you look at the QR code here or in the link in the chat. Also, a database of offshore wind farms in the North Sea has been developed, and contribution to the KU Havin report for the NVE. To assess the seabird population impacts, we had to use a combination of methods because of the large heterogeneity in the data material and so on. So first, an individual level impacts have been analyzed by using a spatial individual-based model, an IBM, of species-specific impacts of offshore wind farms and bycatch during the non-breeding season. From this, you will get an estimate of mortality, which is a lethal effect, or a change in body mass, which is a sublethal effect. The output from this is then transferred into population modeling, where you can enabling us to scale up from individuals to populations. And by using population viability analysis, it's possible you can then model the effect on annual survival and breeding success, and then on the population trajectories. In this part, it's also where climate, this annual, these variables that varies through time, like climate and fishery harvest, has also been analyzed. And then you get the output from this is the population impacts of marine stressors during the non-breeding. And then you can also add this up and get the cumulative impacts of marine stressors during the non-breeding season. The output from these seabird population assessments are that we all the impact weights that goes into the tool that say something about how impacted the different populations of seabirds are. Also, several articles are on the way or are either published or accepted. And you can see some of them here. One is a climate, one is a population, it's an article on demographic responses on the North Atlantic seabirds from ocean warming. And another one is looking at individual-based modeling to quantify non-breeding season impacts of offshore wind farms on seabirds. And you can read this because this has also been developed some MARCIS knowledge briefs where you can go by looking to read more if you click on the QR codes provided on this slide. So we have achieved quite a lot. We have reached the goals in MARCIS. We are quite proud of that. And it has been really hard work for all the people involved. But what is the importance of this tool then, and how can it be used? First of all, we have managed to develop a tool that links multiple sources of data, bird ringing data, tracking data, annual monitoring data, that all has been collected through ringing programs or national monitoring programs. And this shows the importance of such data, but also how cutting-edge analytical tools can be used to bridge the gap between data and knowledge, and how a tool like this can be used to make important knowledge available to ensure sustainable future for seabirds. The tool will inform sustainable marine spatial planning and inform both management, industry, and NGOs. It can be used for assessment of future areas of offshore wind farms. Sorry, my technique is not really working here. For assessment of marine protected areas or fishing restrictions, and even more. And the tool and the framework developed here can also be further developed. We can add species, we can extend the data, etc. And it can be linked to other marine cumulative impact assessment tools or tools that needs information about how seabirds are impacted in specific areas. MARCIS has been a strong collaboration between science, industry, management, and NGOs, all the different sectors. And we have put quite a lot of effort into this, with 24 partners and users involved, and making sure that everyone was being involved along, so that we could make a tool that was user-friendly and that people felt that it could be something that they can use in the future. Yeah. So by that, I think I would like to thank everyone. It's a huge thanks to everyone who has been involved. both the project partners and the user groups, but of course also to our funding bodies. Yeah, so I think I'll stop there and give the word to, I guess everyone is more keen on looking into the tool and how it's working, and then that is what Nina is going to do now.
Yes, hello. My name is Nina Dehnhart, and together with Frank Hansen, I've been responsible for developing the MARCIS-tool in the last couple of years. And in the following part, I will show you how the MARCIS-tool can support policy development, planning processes, and environmental assessments, and how you can use it. If you're working or interested in any of the words in this word cloud, you have a very good reason to test out and use our tool. So this is a screenshot of the start page of MARCIS, and you will find the link in the chat. And there are, first of all, two main options you can select from on the left-hand side. There are the LCA maps, or life cycle assessment maps, for migratory birds in the North Sea that Tune has mentioned in her presentation. Sorry. And we start with this. So this is the lower of the two options here, circled in blue. And now I'm stuck with not getting further. Oh yes, here we go. So this is one example showing the overall results of a life cycle assessments. So impacts of offshore wind farms on all bird groups together of all the migratory birds in the area for which LCA maps were generated. And you have several different selection options on the left-hand side that you can select from. I don't know if you see my marker, but this is the selection panel on the left-hand side that gives options there. Returning to the front page of the MARCIS tool, the other option you can choose from is this upper one, where you select impacts on seabirds, and this is where we calculated cumulative impact assessments on seabirds using this Halpern formula that Tune also explained. On this front page, you also see a lot of red dots, and all of these red dots are seabird colonies for which we included mostly the tracking data. And there are a couple of colonies that are marked in white. These are in Russia, and some are in the southern part of the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, and that's the seabird colonies that we know exist, but we don't have tracking data, so we could not include them in MARCIS. But we highlight them here because that adds a certain or some kind of uncertainty because we know there are seabirds there that we don't have tracking data on. And yeah, you can see the MARCIS core study area in blue on the map. So if you click on this seabird impact assessment on the left, you then have a lot of options to choose from on the left-hand side. There are 6 seabird species. There are 4 different countries. Within the countries, there are numerous regions you can select. There are 2 different seasons, breeding and non-breeding season, and there are in total 25 different stressor options or combinations. And as a user, you select what you are interested in. So you can select from a single species in a single colony, which is the selection here, to a single species across the whole study range, or all 6 species together. This is all possible. So in this case, I selected one single puffin colony up at Gjesvastappan, which is at the very north Finnmark in Norway. And I selected the non-breeding season and just, all stressors together. And the size of the dot here then also reflects the size of the colony. Important to know, MARCIS has a strong focus on the non-breeding season. So if you select breeding season in the panel on the left, you will only get 3 different options for stressors, namely fisheries competition, current ocean warming, and future ocean warming. And you can select among these 3. This does not mean that the other stressors, like for example offshore wind development, would not have an impact during the breeding season, but it simply means that we had certain limitations in terms of time and money in MARCIS, and we could not assess impacts of all stressors during the breeding season. So our focus is on the non-breeding season, and that's why, unless you have a very specific focus on the breeding season and on these stressors, we recommend to select non-breeding season. So if you select non-breeding season, you have 25 different stressor options to select from. Here I chose old stressors and future ocean warming, but yeah, you have various options. Very important, once you've made your selection of species, colonies, locations, and so on, and stressors, you have to click on Start Processing. And then you have to be patient. There are a lot of heavy processes in the background, rescaling maps, so it can take several minutes until the maps are done. So here are the results. The info box here on the right-hand side gives you some very basic information about the functionality of the tool and how to interpret the results. There is more information in the manual that is also available on the website and that you can download as a PDF. So here I've chosen all 6 study species from all colonies across the whole study region together in the non-breeding season, and I've chosen all stressors in their current status quo, meaning this is the cumulative impact assessment across all 6 species and 6 stressors as it is per now, and it and this map shows some areas up here in the Greenland Sea in blue, which suggest a positive impact. And we see negative impacts in orange around Scotland and up here in the Barents Sea. So in the following, let's have a look at what is driving these positive and negative impacts and why we see this picture. To do so, we have a couple of tools within the tool, or we have a couple of possibilities for this. We have the layer list here on the top, and we have the selection panel here on the left with several options of looking at different maps or layers. So in the layer list, you can view seabird densities, stressor densities, as well as the overlap between seabirds and stressors. And I'm now selecting only the seabird densities, and you can see that we are actually plotting seabird densities not only in the core MARCIS area, but across the entire distribution range. The reason for that is that we thought it was important to show that seabirds are also migrating outside of the MARCIS area during times of the year. So here, you have to look at this legend that says seabird density to interpret the color scale, and we can see that there is a high density of seabirds in this area around Scotland, where we saw a high negative impact, and also there is relatively high density up here in the Barents Sea. There is lower density up here in the Greenland Sea and around Svalbard. This is, as I said, non-breeding season, so during winter mostly. And then we have these selection panels on the left, where you have several options. You can view the monthly overlap. I'm skipping this for now. But what I've clicked here is the applied impact weights. And they pop up as a separate box. You can also view them on the whole page if you click this little button here on the right. They are shown separately per species. So here we see the panel for the little auk. And so you get a plot or an indicator for each single stressor on if it had a negative or a positive impact. And you can see also here at the bottom of these, if these stressors were modeled or if they are based on literature values. In the case of the little auk, what we see is that most stressors like oil and gas, shipping, fishery competition have little or a very small negative impact. But current ocean warming, so climate change, that actually has a positive impact. So little auks benefit from climate change. If we click on the next species, the Atlantic puffin, we see that this picture looks quite differently. We see a negative impact of ocean warming. We also see a negative impact of shipping. The other stressors are not super negative, but there is some variation. Offshore wind farms have a slight negative impact. And I go on to the northern fulmar. Again, we see a different picture. Fishery bycatch has a negative impact and ocean warming has too. For black-leg kittiwakes, current ocean warming, so climate change, has the worst or most negative impact. Similar for common guillemots and also for Brünnig's guillemots. So of those 6 species, only little auks experience a positive impact by ocean warming, and this is also the only positive impact towards any of the stressor. And so we can already say that this blue cloud up here around Greenland is probably driven by ocean warming affecting little auks in a positive way. We also have this panel of relative impacts, and here this is relative stressor contribution overall towards all 6 species, and we see that even though little auks benefit from ocean warming, all the other species are actually having a negative are negatively impacted, and so current ocean warming is basically the worst of the 6 stressors, followed by fishery bycatch. The other stressors had rather limited negative impacts overall compared to ocean warming. So we can also look at this further by only selecting a single species. So here I've selected the little auk to look a bit better at where are they experiencing positive impacts. And yeah, so as I showed earlier, only ocean warming had a positive impact on little auks. And so we see that they are apparently benefiting around, Svalbard and in the Greenland Sea. But if I choose the black-leg kittiwake, and again, this is all stressors, the same selection just for the kittiwakes, we see that the picture is very differently. So they are everywhere negatively impacted, and especially around this western edge of the master study area, but also around Svalbard and the Barents Sea. And we've heard from Tune that seabird species, and especially kittiwakes, are doing very badly in Norway. So here I've selected only the Norwegian black-leg kittiwakes to look at how they are doing under future ocean warming, because we know that ocean warming is probably going to intensify. And we can see that it doesn't look good for these birds, especially east of Svalbard. If we, in contrast, select kittiwakes from the Isle of May, here in response to future ocean warming and future offshore wind farm development, we do know that there will be a lot of offshore wind farms coming in the North Sea in the future. We see, obviously, birds from the Isle of May have a different distribution from the Norwegian birds. There are not many kittiwakes up there from the Isle of May, but they are mostly distributed here in the North Sea. And on the western side, western edge, basically, of the master's study area, we see a negative impact of offshore wind farms and ocean warming in the future, both in this area. And if I click on the applied impact weights, I can also see that future ocean warming has a worse impact, a more negative impact than future offshore wind farms for kittiwakes from that population. So I think you're getting the hang of it. There are a lot of different options you can select here. One more example, this is northern fulmars from Bjørnøya, from Bear Island in the Barents Sea, located here. In response to fishery bycatch, which was one of the stronger impacts on the species. And you can see this quite patchy pattern where northern fulmars from Bjørnøya are impacted by fisheries bycatch in the Barents Sea. And this patchy pattern is a combination, or is a result of the species distribution, of course, but also of the distribution of where fisheries is happening with those types of fisheries that are prone to take fulmars and bycatch. So yeah, there are lots of options to select, and I really quickly want to go through a few more options in regards to functionality of the app. I've already mentioned the layer list in this panel on the left. There is also this option here on the top with drawing a polygon. In the layer list, what I have not mentioned yet is there is also, you can view the NVE offshore wind assessment area. So this is the areas that the Norwegian government is considering for future offshore wind development. And you can plot these on the map. If you are interested in an area that is not NVE area and a totally different random area of interest, you have this functionality of drawing your own polygon. Very importantly, you need to do this before you make your selection of species and stressors. So right in the beginning, when you select that you want to look at the cumulative impact assessments, you click up here on either the rectangle or the polygon. You draw a rectangle of interest, which I've done here. And then you need to click on apply. The view will then change, it will get blue, and then you make your selection of species and stressors. And you will get the cumulative impact assessment only in this limited area. And also if you choose to download the results, you will only download it in this area. So yes, you can download the maps, either the complete area or this chosen area of interest. By clicking on this button here, you will then get a GeoTIFF with the exact results in terms of numbers. Also, if you wonder how accurate all these estimates are, we have calculated also uncertainty maps. Not for all options, because that would have probably taken another 5 years, but for some options. So whenever you select all colonies and all stressors of a single species, you can see uncertainty maps. And this, I go one step back. You click on this show uncertainty button here, and then a new window opens, and we have this sliding window approach where you can view the cumulative impacts on the left-hand side, and you can view the uncertainty on the right-hand side. And if there are uncertainty maps and you decide to download the results, you will automatically also download the uncertainty maps together with the actual cumulative impact assessment maps. So that was it from my side. If you have any questions, there will be a question session after this presentation. Otherwise, we have written a manual and put a lot of emphasis on trying to explain how to choose, what to choose, depending on what you're interested in. If you don't find the answer in the manual, or if you find a bug in the tool, please get in touch with us through the feedback form. You find both the manual and the feedback form on the front of the MARCIS website. Yes, that's it from me. Thank you, and I hope you are using the tool.
Thank you very much for that overview, Nina. I'm sure that many of people will have questions for you after. But before we move on to questions, we're going to move on to a brief presentation from Arne Myrvold from Equinor, who will give us a user perspective, how it's been to be a partner on the MARCIS project. Yeah, go ahead, Arne.
Yeah, thank you. Very happy to be here on this occasion, finally getting there. So in a way you can say that Christmas came late this year. Equinor is an energy company operating in the marine space, both oil and gas activity and carbon capture and storage and offshore wind. So obviously very relevant to us, this tool. We are, as a company, committed to mitigate potential negative impacts from our business activities, and also say that we have the ambition to contribute to concerted actions designed to have a positive impact on nature moving forward. So, as stated in the web page of MARCIS, and also said now earlier by both Tone and Nina, growth of coastal and marine industries such as energy development, aquaculture, fishery and shipping has led to increased pressure on marine biodiversity, and consequently there is an increasing demand for novel management tools to ensure sustainable industrial development in the marine environment. So this blue growth thing that is coming and happening currently. And as also stated, seabirds play an important role in the marine ecosystem, and their populations are under pressure due to our different anthropogenic activities there. So now having this tool ready, we believe that can really support our environmental risk assessment, early phase mapping for projects, better understanding of the temporal and spatial risk, supporting impact assessment processes that we are involved in, site selection discussions, scoping and communication related to impact assessment processes, stakeholder dialogue, we believe will be, this tool can support us in, both internal stakeholder dialogue and also externally. I think it can provide, it can be an important tool for us to guide towards better understanding of where are the data gaps moving forward, and hence need for further actions to gather more data. It can support that process. And I'm very happy that we managed to have this sea basin approach, that we don't just end up with a tool for just a Norwegian sector, but that we have this tool, or this the MARCIS study area that you've seen on the map that covers the a rather sea basin. So I'm really eager to now start investigating and learn more on how successful we have been as a project. I think it's we came a long way, and it has really been a privilege to be part of this ambitious project with a very competent group of people from a number of academic institutions and various stakeholders. So again, we are really looking forward to start using the tool in various groups internally, and anxious of the feedback we'll get on it. So again, the proof is in the pudding, and we're looking forward to start using it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arne. I just have one final slide before we can move on to questions from the audience. So start thinking about those, or putting those in the chat if you like. So first of all, here I've repeated the QR code for the tool itself. You can also access the tool from the MARCIS website. It's on the main page, and there's also a sub page for the tool in particular, where you will also find a recording of these presentations. Not immediately, but probably sometime next week. And then Nina has already mentioned this before, but if you have questions or feedback about the tool, you can go find that link on the MARCIS-tool site. Just says send us your feedback, and then you can fill that form out and send us feedback or questions. If you have any other questions that aren't directly related to the tool, just in general, you can also send me an email. My email contact is on this slide. And we're also going to try to organize a kind of I'm calling this a user forum here, which is basically going to be 2 online Teams meetings, one in the spring and one in the autumn, for users, where the main point of these will be to give a space for people to ask questions in plenum and provide feedback, but also probably importantly to discuss with other users of the tool, not just the people that have created it. So hopefully that will be a nice way to also share experiences and exchange information. More information will come about. I'll send more information about that via email to the people that have been invited to this launch event, but also on the website. So that should be available to everyone.